Nice to meet you. So you went to boarding school, right? Can you introduce yourself? Talk about the boarding school you went to, how long you were there.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I am Dikshita. I went to boarding school in class 4.
Yeah.
It was actually a very sudden decision, not something planned at all.
Right.
So I had a few cousins who were studying in boarding school, and we used to go visit them as a family, just to kind of hang out with them once in a while. And I always enjoyed seeing their lives, and it always kind of inspired me to myself. Maybe, be in boarding school one day. Um, on one such visit, we were actually in Dehradun, just visiting one of my cousins. It was in September, so middle of the school year, like not usually the start or anything. But my parents just spoke to the principal there, and they were like ready to enroll me, and they literally just like left me in that school that very day.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
we spent the whole day shopping all those, essentials for boarding school. They paid the fees. They called up my school in my hometown saying, oh, like just please arrange the transfer certificate and stuff. And that's how I started my boarding school journey.
Okay, so that was pretty sudden. Must have been kind of, was that shocking in any way?
When it happened, I was actually very excited.
Okay.
I was very like, yeah, just excited at the prospect of going to boarding school. I think the first night I was okay, but then from the second night, the homesickness like really, really like hit. And then I was like miserable for a month because they also have a rule that they don't actually let you be in contact with your parents for the
Right.
first month
Yeah.
through phone call or anything like that. So my parents came to visit me after a month. And then slowly, I started getting used to it. And then I changed my school to another boarding school after one grade, after class 4.
Okay.
So class 5 onwards, I went to Vellum. And
Okay.
until class 12.
Wow. Well, Vellams is a pretty prestigious boarding school, right? I mean, why did you choose? Like, why was it your decision to go to a boarding school? Was it your parents' decision? Did you guys talk
was my
about it at all? It was your decision. Okay, that's interesting because I feel like a lot of people have the stigma around boarding schools about how our kids get sent away there almost as a punishment, right? But I don't think that's always necessarily true. Personally, having attended a boarding school, I relate to that. How seventh grade was when I joined a boarding school, and I remember my first day was great, and then for a month, same thing, right? They don't allow you to call your parents, and you have to like get adjusted, and it's a lot of independence at a young age, but it does teach you how to be on your own, especially emotionally. I think you develop a sense of independence there. What expectations did you have before Joe that were like kind of flipped, that you had to learn to deal with, like that weren't the same as what you were expecting?
I think, similar to what you mentioned, like people assume that boarding schools are like a punishment. So I actually did think that it would be a very like strict place
Right.
where, you just wouldn't have any kind of freedom to do anything. Very regimented, very like scheduled, everything. But honestly, when I joined, of course, there were a level of restrictions. Like you had to wake up at a certain time, breakfast was at a certain time, every class is happening at a certain time. But I never felt like anything was too strict in that manner. I think it was the right amount of strict, but it never felt like a punishment. Honestly, the staff, the way they've even like, kept the staff together, kept the faculty, the wardens and everything.
Yeah.
They were all very well trained to actually like deal with kids and take care of kids' emotional well being because obviously like
Right.
we're without our parents and it's the first time for us. So yeah, that was one major expectation where I actually just started having fun. After you get adjusted to, not being with your
Right.
parents all the time,
Sure.
it just becomes a fun thing where even the schedule is like part of day to day.
Right.
And I think schedule regiment is there in anything you do, right? Like even if you
Yeah,
have work, like
absolutely.
you have to wake up at a certain time, you have to show
Yeah.
up to office, you have to do anything. So I think that actually helps you set you up for life.
No, I completely agree. I think regimentation is often viewed as bad thing, right? But I think coming out of boarding school now, just recently having graduated, it's like wow, now everything is opened up, and now I have to do everything on my own. Before, there was a set time for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. You knew where to go. You know when you were going to get it. You knew there were already food there. Now you have to cook your own food. Now you have to think about where the food's coming from, that kind of thing, right? You never had to think about that, the little stuff, especially in school, right? You could just focus on your academics and you could focus on sports and being with your friends. I
think just one more perception people have is that boarding schools are a very competitive place. I think, at least about Vellum, I can speak like it was just a community. Like,
Right.
I don't think people were, at loggerheads with each other, like competing for certain things. Of course, there was healthy competition for like leadership positions or
Yeah.
debate clubs
Of
and
course.
things like that. But it never felt like, I think because everybody was part of the same place and kind of understood each other, it all just became a community rather than, people not wanting the best for you.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about boarding school that I feel is misinterpreted because people don't really understand it. But yeah, I would completely agree with you. I think it's much more of a community than people realize because you're seeing each other every single day. You know everybody, that kind of thing, right? What was the hardest part of boarding school for you? Like of all time, what was the most difficult thing maybe that you went through?
I started finding it difficult to like enjoy home.
Mm.
I would, I think there were two types of people, like before, like summer holidays or winter holidays, which were like a huge chunk for us, right? Like summer holidays would be 2 months, winter holidays would also be 2 months.
Yeah.
So before, there were always two groups of people who would, one would like really look forward to going home, one would
Right.
not. I was the part that was not.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed school so much, like I stopped enjoying home that much. Um, Home was also like, it's just my parents and my younger sibling and me. So I started enjoying, being with like multiple people at a time and like doing a bunch of activities. Home felt a little dull. So it was challenging to like, while growing up and, as you become more mature, like also trying to figure out, okay, like how do you balance all things in life?
Right.
How do you give equal kind of importance to your friends in school, to your extracurriculars, to your academics, but also to your family?
Right.
I did see a lot of students in school who came from broken families or, just didn't have a good relationship with their parents. So for me, it was actually very challenging to be conscious about that and also maintain a good relationship with my parents, which luckily I have, and like it's great now. But in school, like, how do you balance both of those while not feeling like you missed out on it?
No, I completely understand that. I think I can relate in a sense. I live in Dubai and my boarding school was in India. And having gone to boarding school at a pretty fairly young age, I mean, also seventh grade, I felt what is that? I was 12 years old, right? I was just about to become a teenager. All my friends then, all my friends are from Woodstock, which is the school that I attended, right? And all of them were there, and I just used to come back home, and I love my parents, but there's nothing to do there, right? I would just end up like playing video games. I have an older sister, but she's in Canada, so I really had nowhere to go. I would just kind of sit around, play basketball sometimes. But it can definitely be a dulling experience compared to the highs with being your friends, being with your friends all the time, especially. I totally understand that. But how did your relationship with your classmates evolve? So, like prior to boarding school and then post boarding school, how did that change?
I mean, I'm not friends with any of my classmates prior to boarding school.
Right.
Of course, I had very close friends, but I lost touch with them as soon as I went to boarding school, which was a regret to some extent. But then I think I made such a good set of friends in boarding school that. Plus, I started boarding school at class 5, so like I still count them as my childhood friends.
Yeah.
How did it evolve? Of course, my like people I was friends with in class 5 and 6, I wasn't friends with all of them through grade 12.
Of course.
As you mature, you realize different things about yourself. Living in the same space, spending so much time together, also leads you to like quickly understand who you gel with and who you don't.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I think after being close friends with somebody for like 5 6 months, I would know, okay, like is this person somebody I see myself being friends with for a long period of time? And I think in boarding school also, like there end up big groups, right? Like people who play basketball are a
Yeah.
group of people.
Sure.
People who debate are a group of people. People who do drama are a group of people.
Yeah.
So when you start realizing your skill set and what you actually want to do in life,
Mm.
you also start having different kind of friend circles.
Right.
So when I started class 9, I think I was really into debate. Like that was basically my life.
Right.
And so a lot of my friend circle also evolved to be people who were just part of the debate club because I was organically spending time with them. I was going to competitions and stuff outside school or like outstation trips and all that. So that kind of defined my friend circle towards the end.
No, I think niches especially come to fruition more in boarding school, I would say, than in day schools. Because you don't really get that time to I mean, you're always together. So it's like naturally, if you do spend more time in this half of the day, then you're probably going to spend the same time with those people in the second half. So no, I absolutely agree with that. Did you ever feel lonely though? Like because those friend circles, they can become tight. It can feel like there's nowhere that really fits for me, and I feel like I know that a lot of people have felt out of their place in the past in boarding schools. Just curious.
Luckily, no. I think I was always blessed to like have a bunch of people like or like some at least one person like as a best friend at that point and like somebody I'll always like have around me. Although I did know a lot of people who would feel lonely. And honestly, when I was younger, like I knew okay, this person is probably like friendless and I didn't do much about it. So I know a lot of people go through that. Luckily I wasn't one of them and didn't have to. But yeah, if I could go back and like change one thing would be to like make everybody have a as good an experience as I did with boarding school because it's truly something like not a lot of people get right. Like majority of people don't go through this experience, so you are a minority. Yeah, in that sense. And then if part of that minority, like that somebody's not able to like live that experience to the fullest, I think that's something that I would change.
Looking back, do you think there's like what personal values of yours do you think boarding school has strengthened? Like what did it really highlight for you?
I think resilience. I see a lot of people like, just like not being able to like function under pressure or not being able to, be at a task for a long period of time.
Right.
I think because like boarding school was so you didn't have a support system in terms of parents or something to
Right.
like look after you. You just learn to like do stuff by yourself, figure it out, take decisions, right? Like there were so many times that I had to make a decision about um even like subject selection or okay, this talk is happening, should I attend it or not? Should I sign up for this activity or not? Yeah. Ideally, these are things you discuss with your parents and they guide you on it. But not having parents there and having to make some of these by yourself was something that, I think stays with me now. Like even today, like there are very few things I run past my parents. Yeah. It's more like I inform them that, okay, I've done this by the way. I've changed jobs or I've moved houses and I'm letting you know, but like I don't feel the need to like so that I think decision making. And I think one more thing is just like a strong work ethic. It's also like the same regiment point, right? Like having been living in that lifestyle for so long, it just makes you so accustomed to it that to me now, like it's not a big deal to like have to, like do things at a certain time and keep like moving. That structure it's just become part of life. It's not a additional muscle that I have to exercise.
No, I think that's spot on, right? Like even I completely agree. Talking about like how you forget to run things past your parents. I've done that so much. I'll tell them, oh, by the way, I'm playing this next tournament if you want to watch, or oh, I won this medal, or oh, I did this and that, and they'll be like, oh, and why didn't you tell us? You could have watched that kind of thing. But like you forget. It's almost like you learn to become your own person at a younger age, which has its goods and has its bads also. I would say it's definitely a double-edged sword kind of thing. I mean, do you think there was a person specifically who you looked up to in boarding school, like a teacher, a friend, a senior, maybe? You know.
There were a bunch of people, but I think if I had to name one, it would be this teacher of mine. She never taught me any subject, but she was a Hindi debating teacher. So I was into like Hindi debating. So she kind of took me under her wing in grade 8. And then through 12th, like, of course, I was doing a lot of debates. So she was guiding me on that. But she also became like a very personal mentor, somebody who would actually help me with my life decisions at that point. So our interactions weren't just restricted to like that specific activity of debating. But she's definitely somebody I looked up to. She also had a very good like work-life balance with the way, she had raised her kids, the way she would spend time in school, the way she would carry herself, interact, even as a professional and as a wife, a mother, whatever. So yeah, that's somebody I really looked up to and I still like remember.
Oh, that's amazing. I think everyone has that person, whether they want to have that or not. think for me, he was maybe my basketball coach for a long time. And I almost resent him because he was so tough on me. But at the same time, I feel like I've grown a lot because of him. I don't want to. I don't want to say that it's because of him, but it is in a way he was the catalyst. So I don't have any resentful feelings anymore. As when I was younger, I definitely did. I did hate him because he wouldn't let me play or something like that, you know. But I think as you grow older, you look back and everything feels just like a flash, like it ended so soon. And like just yesterday, you were just waking up, you know, going to practice. For me, it feels that way anyway. So, I mean, I'm sure to an extent you also feel that, you know, sometimes you like close your eyes and you're back in those classrooms, smell it. Yeah. I mean, I just want to like close with like just one question, right? What advice would you give to parents making this decision?
Firstly, don't force it on your child.
Yeah.
If your child really doesn't want to go to boarding school, it's fine. I think there are great schools all around. I don't think boarding schools are superior to day schools. Of course, I would prefer it for my children because I've been through that experience and I
Yeah.
want a certain thing.
Yeah.
But don't force it on them. And also, I think parents really like it's a huge journey for parents as well to send their first kid to boarding school
Definitely.
where it's like they need to learn to separate a little bit. They need to be okay with their child making decisions, doing stuff without their consent or without even keeping them in the loop. So, you know, having that respect, having that kind of, if you are putting your child through boarding school, then you need to give them that freedom to actually live the boarding school
Completely.
life. Otherwise,
Completely.
there's no point in
You can't
doing it.
helicopter them while they're somewhere else, almost sometimes in a different country. You just can't, right? You need to sort of let them develop and learn for themselves and have faith that what you've done so far will carry you. And I think for the most part, it always does, at least in my experience. I think even the kids who were lonely at the beginning of boarding school, towards the end, they found their people. I've never ever run into someone who didn't find some group of friends who they felt comfortable with, who they were, you know, really, really tight with. I don't think I've ever come across anybody who's resented boarding school completely. I know, like, a lot of people who used to go to our boarding schools still talk about it. We have a really massive alumni network. I'm sure that's a huge part about
Same.
connection. Such a big, big benefit, actually, I would say. More so than I think most day schools. But yeah, thank you so much for being here talking about your experience. It's been really insightful. And I hope everyone else can also enjoy it. So
Great. Thank you so much for having me.